So the truth is, I really have no freaking idea where this video is about to go. Hello my friends, welcome back to my channel. Today I have the first episode of a new series for you guys that the temporary name for it, because I don't know if I really love the name, but it's the best I've got, is Brianna Blooms. And what it is going to be a documentation of my journey relocating to a completely different city, a completely different state, and essentially having to start over and rebuild my community, which I had such a strong community that I left behind. I'm rebuilding it from the ground up, and I wanted to take you guys with me. A lot of you expressed an interest in this sort of subject matter with the relocating and figuring out how to establish yourself and build your home in this brand new place. I do have this one sitting here with me because it is raining outside, and apparently she's decided that she's afraid of the rain now. This is new. She's almost 3. You turned 3 on November 2nd, you know. If you weren't afraid of it as a baby, you shouldn't be afraid of it now. So Gracie's here on my lap, the part of home that came along with me to Minnesota. But let's start at the very beginning. So what I thought I would do is just kind of start at the beginning, because this is a journey that many people take, and until now, I haven't really had to take it. Eric and I have moved several times, but I knew in my heart of hearts that most of them were temporary, so I never really had to worry about building a new community, and each move kind of came with its own community. For example, I grew up in the city that we just left. So my community has been there my entire life. I went to college in Kenosha, Wisconsin, which was an hour away from home. So it was, yes, it was a different state, but it was fine. And of course it was college. So you had your community that you were supposed to grow and build right there built in. After college, I moved back home and didn't move again until I moved to North Carolina with Eric. That closed our long distance relationship gap, and it was business school for him. He went to UNC in Chapel Hill. That was my first real move. I left the house, we had our own apartment, and the community and the group of friends was built right in because he was in business school, so we were all around the same age, and a lot of the business school students had spouses. There's actually a community for the spouses of business school students at UNC. Like, it was a built-in community, and we met some of our very best friends there. And it just happened so organically, but it was because there were activities geared specifically towards us, available to us. Then we moved to Japan for 10 weeks, and that was for 10 weeks. So it was difficult. It was a challenge because I don't know any Japanese. We went because he wanted to study abroad. So we had a little clique of people from around the world, which was really cool. I now have a friend in France. I have a friend in Belgium. It's really quite a cool thing to say I have those things. But again, the community, while it was small, was built in because it was everybody who was doing the exchange during that period of time. And luckily for us, while Japanese people don't necessarily know English all that well, everybody who was in the exchange program, no matter where they were from, knew English. So we had that little community built in too. And again, I knew it was temporary, no problem, right? North Carolina was temporary. We didn't know where we were going afterwards, but it was temporary, and Japan was temporary. Then when Eric got his job back in Chicago, it was just me taking him. He was the new addition, and plugging him into the life that I had already built. We ended up going to the Bridge, our church, together, and that was an entirely new community of people. What was really fun for me is as I spent time there, I found people that I knew from my past life, if you will, that now attend that church. I ran into a family whose children I taught choir to when they were members at my Lutheran church. I ran into a girl who I did a play with over a decade ago, and she recognized me when she saw me on stage one day because I was the lead in the play and she was one of the itty bitty girls at the time. I also saw people that I've previously worked with in former jobs. So it was cool for me to see my two communities collide. But Eric and I also did a really great job of growing our community through that church. That church is where most of our friendships came from because it was the thing that we did on the weekend. Eric traveled for work all the time, and then we were always at church. So it was natural that our community came from our church, and it was such a large community because it's a thriving community church. So the people we saw on Sundays and served with and worshiped with were also the people we would get together with on Fridays or during the week, or I'd go out to dinner with some of the women, and it was just a wonderful community. I joined the worship team. Eric was on the production team. We had things established. We had our friends, we had our routine, we had our place that we called home. So transitioning into that and growing that was not as difficult. It took time, yes. It took us a couple of years to really feel like we were rooted there, but we had a solid baseline of people that already knew me. They might not have known Eric, but they were willing to know Eric because they already knew me. So when Minneapolis got sprung on us, I realized that, oh crap, for really the first time ever, this was going to be a permanent move where I know nobody. There's nothing temporary about the situation we are in. We have sold our condo. We are no longer residents of Illinois. We live in Minnesota now, where I know virtually no one. Now there's literally like 3 people that I know, one of which I only know on Instagram, but I know her, we communicate. But really, truly, I don't know anybody here. My best friend from kindergarten lives around here in St. Paul, I believe, but I haven't even seen him yet, and I've been here for 2 months. That's just the way life rolls sometimes. So basically, it's me, it's Eric, it's Gracie, and we're on our own trying to build this new community and turning this new house of ours into a home. We moved back in the beginning of July. We moved around July, I think 12th or 13th, one of those days, and we had temporary housing in downtown Minneapolis. And quite frankly, for me, that didn't feel like the move. Because I knew, once again, I knew it was temporary. And in my mind, for whatever reason, if I think or I know that something is temporary, it doesn't have the weight, it doesn't hold the gravity that it's supposed to. So it wasn't until August 23rd when we bought our house and moved in that it started to click that, oh my gosh, this is it. Then of course you end up obsessed with unpacking and doing all this stuff, and like, I haven't left the house in 3 days because there's simply too much to do here. That fast forwarded through a couple of weeks of time, if I'm being completely honest. We spent our weekends going to IKEA and buying furniture to fill in the gaps that we have discovered throughout the week. Eric worked all day during the work week, and we did home stuff on the weekends. That was just our routine for the first month that we were here. It is now past a month that we've been here. The boxes have been unpacked, and now it's just the final organizational stuff that, quite frankly, could have been the state of our previous home. It's just, some things need to be tidied here, some things need some better solutions here, but all in all, we are functional and we are up and we are running. Which means the next step is developing our community. Like, this is when it hits you, oh crap, I don't actually have friends to go out with. I don't actually have a church to sing at. I don't actually have all of these things. I don't have a groomer. I don't have a groomer for this face. Mwah. I don't have a doctor. I don't have I had to cancel a dentist appointment, an eye doctor appointment, and a gynecologist appointment, and I don't have any of those things here yet. So all of a sudden, it's me, my home office. I'm here, I can talk to you guys, but I have no real community outside of these walls. So Brianna Blooms is my effort to share with you just the steps and the things that I am doing to try and make this transplant feel like home. I need to plant roots here and I need to bloom, because if I don't, it's going to be a long, painful, depressing, futile battle, right? I mean, we moved for my husband's job. It would be exceptionally simple for me to just be angry with him for a very long time for making me leave my family and my people and my community behind. How dare you do that? But I don't want to do that to him. He took this job so he can provide for me. That's a huge deal. That's amazing. And I knew when I signed on to be his housewife that where the work went, we would have to go also. I had nothing tying me to staying in the Chicagoland area. Yes, my family's there, but where Eric's work goes is where I go. And I accept that and I am okay with that. And I just want to make sure that instead of spending all of my time creating this negative energy around the fact that I moved and I have nobody and oh my gosh, I do something about it instead. And it's gonna take time and I'm fully aware of that. But I want to make sure that I am actually taking action, because life is too short and who knows, we could end up staying in Minnesota for the rest of our lives. We really don't know what the future holds, but what I do know is this: I want what I left behind in less time than it took me to get what I left behind. We moved back to Chicago in summer of 2015. That was 4 years ago. And it took us about 2 of those years to really start to feel that solid Christian community that we had through our church. I had the girls that I went to the gym with that I also saw at worship that Saturday night. And it was incredible. And I love that I had it. And I wish that I had had it for longer. So my goal here is to try and find that community even sooner than I had it in Chicago when I got transplanted into a place I already knew. Of course, it's going to be baby steps to get me there. So I thought that these videos could be like threefold. 1, how I'm actually doing, how I'm feeling, what my problems are, etc. 2, the action steps I've taken since the previous episode, the things that have happened, the things that I have done to help get rooted and bloom. And thing number 3 would be the things I plan on doing between the filming of this episode and the next episode. Does that sound good to you guys? Sorry, she keeps moving. You keep moving. Mwah. I don't know what you want. You want to leave? You do want to leave. So I kind of went over part 1, how I'm doing and what I'm dealing with. I haven't actually had any massive depressive episodes of anything involving this move yet. I get a little bit like frustrated with the fact that I don't have a doctor, I don't have any of the things. I'm more frustrated that Gracie doesn't have a vet and she hasn't gotten groomed yet. That's actually more frustrating to me than the fact that I don't have what I need. I need to find a nail salon and a hair salon and just all the things, but it's fine. It's fine. The only thing that really gets me hot and bothered is thinking about going to another church. And it's simply because my next church experience has such big shoes to fill. I loved being on the worship team. I felt like truly worshipful on the worship team. It was just an incredible experience. The whole church was an incredible experience. So that's going to be really hard to replicate. And I know this was the advice from my music pastor at the church, was do not look for another bridge. Don't do that. You need to go find your new church, and it might not look like the bridge, and that's okay. And that is advice that I am very much taking to heart. But as we go forward, looking for churches like the bridge is kind of where we're starting, just to get our footing. But so the church thing, like Googling churches online and looking at their websites and seeing that some of them don't even have serving on the worship team as a serving option, like gets me all hot and bothered and like, oh my gosh, what am I gonna do? We're never gonna find a home church panic. That is the only thing that's really struck me as a negative thing since moving. And I am so grateful that that's the only thing that has triggered me thus far. Now that's not to say that nothing is going to come of this. Like I could have a mental breakdown about something completely random tomorrow. Who knows? But for now, I'm actually pretty emotionally stable. I'm acknowledging it. My husband has actually done a very nice job of acknowledging it. He makes sure he regularly tells me how grateful he is for the fact that I am being so positive and so supportive through this entire thing, which words of affirmation is one of my love languages, so that really helps me want to continue to do that. So that's a great mutually beneficial thing we've got going on there. So there's no negatives yet, but I'm dealing with the, oh crap, here we go. There's no more boxes to hide behind. There's no more house hunting to hide behind. It's time to build community and make a home, not just a house. So the things I have done since we moved into our house on August 23rd, and a lot of these only happened in the last week or 2. The first major thing that we did was we got up and went to church one Sunday morning. We have only been to church since we've moved in here into this house twice. And we went to church once while we were downtown. And the church we went to was completely on a whim. It was actually a church that, while I was writing an Instagram post, was one of the suggested tagged locations. And it never popped up before, and I happened to notice it on a Wednesday morning, and I was like, well, that's interesting. Maybe we should try it. And so we did. And it was a wonderful experience, and I actually left telling Eric this actually felt very comfortable to me. This felt like the bridge in a different location. The way the people were welcoming, the way that the personalities of everybody that was out there were, felt great. Our only hesitation with this church that we went to was we didn't see too many people our age, which normally wouldn't be a problem. I am all for age diversity and I'm all for being friends with different people of different ages, but knowing that our core friendships came from our church means that we probably should find a place that has a bigger age group of our age. That's not to say that they don't have it, we just didn't happen to see it the Sunday that we went. So that was the first big step that we took. And then that very next day, that night, after we went to church, is when I made the snap decision that tomorrow, that Monday, was going to be the day that I get my act together and I go to body pump class. I woke up the next morning, I drove to a YMCA, I was like, I'm here to join, you don't have to talk me into it, I just need a membership. And I want my membership ready and active by the time body pump class starts. And I went to body pump that morning. And that, even though I wasn't with my group of people and I wasn't with my instructor, just the act of doing that class that I hadn't done in so long felt really, really good. And body pump people are generally quite encouraging, so I ended up small talking with a couple of people that were there, and that was great. But that was my first dose of normal. Among other things, we have logged into any and all accounts. I'm sure we've missed a couple, and we have officially changed our address on a million things. We've gotten credit cards changed over. We've gotten everything that we've needed changed over. And then I made the decision one Friday morning that that was the day I was going to go and officially declare that I'm no longer an Illinois resident and go get my Minnesota driver's license. So I pulled up the Minnesota test drive guide online because you always end up having to take one of those stupid written tests, and I skimmed through it just to make sure I was fresh up on my traffic laws and rules. And not only did I go to the DMV and manage to accomplish getting my driver's license, I also got my car title's last name changed because I didn't do that, and I've been married for almost 6 years. Oops. But they took care of that for me, and they registered my car. So I have Minnesota plates. I have a Minnesota driver's license on the way to me. I'm officially a Minnesota resident. Another thing I did was I went and got Diva and the Divine a P.O. box, which is something I knew I wanted to do because I want to give you guys the opportunity, especially around the holidays. Guys, Christmas card exchange is on. It was such a huge success last year that it is going to happen again. And this has nothing to do with that. This video has nothing to do with that, but I wanted to have a P.O. box because occasionally people ask me for my mailing information, and I would love to be able to give it to you. So my P.O. box, which is always listed down in the info bar below, I just committed to one for an entire year, and I said, okay, let's do it, and I got Diva and the Divine a P.O. box. So now I have a driver's license, a Minnesota license plate, and a P.O. box. I'm not going anywhere anytime soon, and that was like, physically changing those things acknowledges and solidifies that I'm not going anywhere anytime soon. So mentally, this was a, this is not temporary, look what you just did sort of switch in my brain. While business as usual was happening, I started going to the body pump classes more regularly and decided to try a new class. And so I've been going to pound class, which is like a rhythmic drumming with weighted drumsticks. Super cool, super fun thing. And again, I've been interacting with people at the gym on occasion, which is super fun. I was talking to this older woman who accidentally came to pound class last week, which was so cute. She was getting ready for body pump, and the teacher's like, body pump's not for an hour. And so she was talking about, oh, should I stay for this class? And I looked at her and I'm like, look, if I can do it, you can do it. And she and I powered through it together, and she was so sweet. And I love making small talk with people, so that was a lot of fun. So I'm slowly getting to know faces at the gym, but that's gonna take me weeks and weeks and weeks to familiarize myself with people, and I haven't been ballsy enough to walk up to someone random and just say, hey, do you wanna grab coffee or something like that. I haven't been ballsy enough to do that. But I am interacting with people who are at class with me, and because we have a shared common interest. Probably the largest thing that I have done that got me out of the house and face to face with somebody who wasn't my husband was I went out to coffee and breakfast with a subscriber who reached out to me back when she found out where I was moving and said that she wanted to reach out and offer friendship because when she was moving around a lot, people did that to her, and it helped her transition much more smoothly. So she reached out to me back when we lived downtown, and I said, look, when we move, it turns out that you live nearby to me. When we move and get settled, I'm here for it. Let's do it. And just this last Friday, we went out for breakfast, and it was so lovely. I was so excited about it. I looked at Eric and I was like, I get to go out and talk to somebody that's not you. And he was like, thanks, I love you too. I'm like, but seriously, I love you. You're my favorite human in the world, but you're the only person I've really spoken to, like sat and conversed with in months. Truly. I went out with his work colleagues once, but other than that, like, it's been him and me and the dog. I was so excited to sit and speak to this woman for a while. We were there for almost 2 hours. We talked about both of our stories. We got to know each other better. It was a little bit unfair because she watches my videos, so she already knew a lot about me, but she still had plenty of questions for me. I had questions for her. We talked about our faith. We talked about our church journeys. It was just a wonderful experience, and I left feeling so uplifted because I was like, I interacted with somebody. I made a friend today. That feels so good. And that was really like the first big thing. She texted me the other day to see if I was available for Manis and Petties. Unfortunately, I was not, but I plan on meeting up with her in the future for such events. But like, even seeing that message, I was like, I have somebody here now. And that's so nice to know, you know? So all in all, I've done those things, and they all seem like such tiny little things, but I know that they're merely the beginning steps of what it's going to take to create a community with the strength of the one I left behind. And I don't even know what to say that I'm going to do going forward, except I'm going to keep trying. I'm really trying. Eric and I are really trying to church shop in an expedited manner. We don't want to force anything, so we keep bouncing around, but he and I both want to figure out which place we're going to call home, because the second that we call it home, I'm in. Like, I'm not at the Bridge. I attended for over a year before I decided it was time for me to join the worship team. I'm not making that mistake again. The second we decide which church we are going to, I'm going to find the music person. I'm going to be like, I'm here, I'm in, I want to serve God with you. Let me help. How can I get involved? How can I serve? All that. Like, I'm ready. I just need the place to do it. So for now, I'm just going to keep on trucking along. I'm going to make it a goal to make small talk with people that I encounter. I'm going to make it a goal to see if I can find people I share similar interests with. Maybe strike up a conversation at one of the churches we are joining. And maybe look online for any meetup type groups. Do any of you know of any Facebook groups for the Minneapolis suburban areas? Meetup websites and stuff that are solid for making friends, you know, things like that. If you have anything like that and that you know of, let me know in the comments below, because I'm very, very interested in anything that will help me genuinely and organically expedite this process of creating this community. In the meantime, we are working very hard on getting our home not just unpacked, but organized and decorated. I know once we get like fall decorations out, it's gonna feel really, really good. And then the other thing that's happening is both my in-laws, they sprung a surprise visit on us. It was actually a surprise visit from my father-in-law to my mother-in-law. We knew that they were coming. She did not until a couple days ago. But my in-laws are coming to visit, which means they'll be here. So that's familiar family in our new place being like, hey, this is our home, welcome. So we'll have our first house guests. And then my mom, my dad, my sister, and Alice are coming to visit at the end of the month for a couple of days. So again, home will be coming to me and help make this be like, oh, you're welcome here, it's our home, things like that. So they're going to be coming to visit, which means we have to show them our community, which, I don't know, might make it feel more official, more, hey, this is our home, check this out. You know what I'm saying? So that's all I've really got. I know this was really rambly. Like I said, I don't know where I wanted to go with this, but I wanted to share this with you because so many of you were interested in my journey of transitioning from Chicago-based to Minnesota-based and not knowing anybody. And I want to share this because hopefully something I say resonates with somebody who needs to hear it. That's why I do everything that I do, but I'm hoping for this specifically because I understand how hard that this transition can be. And I want you to know that you are not alone. And I really hope that something that I do or end up doing helps you in some way. If you can think of a more exciting name for this than Brianna Blooms, I mean, I kind of like it, but I also think it's really cheesy and I can't decide if I should stick with that or not. Quite frankly, I came up with the idea for this video series because of a YouTuber that I watched named Blair Lamb. She did in 2017 a monthly series about her word for the year, which was rooted, because she was having sort of the same issue. She went from a city she loved to a city where she knew nobody, real small town, and she was really struggling, so she decided to take the year of 2017 to get rooted in her new town. And I was gonna call it Rooted, but I didn't want to rip off her name. That being said, Brianna Blooms is what I'm calling this for now, and it is about me figuring out how to plant my roots and bloom where I am planted, and I hope you enjoyed episode 1. Take care.